If you are watching this right now, hear me. You are not here by accident. God himself led you here. You are a special soul, chosen and set apart for his glory. The very season that tried to break you, the nights you cried in silence, the battles that almost crushed your spirit, God is about to turn it into the very platform that will crown you. Your pain has not been wasted. Every tear, every disappointment, and every rejection, it was preparing you for the moment you're stepping into now. A powerful shift is about to take place in your life. Heaven has already declared it. Your crown is coming, and your story is about to shine with his glory. So don't stop here. Like this video, subscribe to this channel and help us reach 10,000 subscribers together. By doing this, you're not just supporting this channel, you're becoming part of a divine movement of hope and transformation. Get ready. What once crushed you is about to elevate you higher than you ever dreamed. Your life will never be the same again. There are seasons in life when it feels like the weight of the world is pressing down on you. You prayed, you believed, but instead of seeing breakthrough, you found yourself in the middle of crushing pressure. Maybe it was the loss of someone you loved. Maybe it was betrayal from those you trusted most. Or maybe it was a door that slammed shut when you thought it was wide open. And in that moment, you felt crushed, like life had taken something from you that you couldn't get back. But let me tell you today, that crushing season did not come to destroy you. It came to prepare you. It came to shape you. It came to bring out of you something greater than you knew was there. The very place that hurt you will become the very platform that crowns you. Think about it when grapes are crushed. They don't lose their value. They become wine more valuable than they were before. When olives are pressed, the oil is released. Without the crushing, the treasure inside would never come out. And the same is true for you. The pressure you went through wasn't wasted. It was producing something in you, something stronger, richer, and more powerful than what you had before. You may look back at the season that crushed you and think, I lost so much. I don't know if I can ever recover. But God says that very season will become your testimony, your stage, your crown. What once buried you will now build you. What once silenced you will now amplify your voice. The place where you cried the most will one day become the place where you rejoice the loudest. Don't mistake the crushing for the end. It's not the end, it's the beginning. When the enemy thought he was breaking you, God was making you. When others thought you were finished, God was only getting started. The crushing season was not punishment, it was positioning. Positioning you for a platform you couldn't have reached any other way. Remember Joseph in the scriptures? He was betrayed by his brothers, thrown into a pit, sold as a slave, and unjustly imprisoned. For years, his life looked like one crushing season after another. But what happened? In one day, God took him from the prison to the palace. The season that crushed him became the platform that crowned him ruler over Egypt. And if God could do it for Joseph, he can do it for you. Don't give up in the crushing. Don't quit in the pressing. The pain you're walking through is not in vain. It's shaping you into someone who will walk with greater authority, greater anointing, and greater strength. I want you to picture every tear you cried, every lonely night, every betrayal. It's all part of the foundation that God is using to lift you higher. One day, when you stand on the platform he's prepared, you'll realize it was the crushing that carried me here. Without the crushing, I wouldn't have the crown. So today, lift your head high. The season that crushed you is not your final chapter. The story isn't over. God is about to turn that pressure into promotion, that pain into purpose, that crushing into crowning. Your greatest testimony will come out of your greatest trial. Get ready. The season that once broke you will soon bless you. The season that crushed you will become the platform that crowns you. There are moments in life when the weight of what you've been through feels like it has left permanent marks. You think back to the betrayal, the disappointment, the heartbreak, or the loss, and you wonder if you will ever truly be the same again. What happened to you may have shaken you, but it does not have the power to define you. You may have walked through a fire, but you are not the ashes. You are the gold that was purified in it. What broke you will not define you. It will refine you for the greater that is coming. So often when we go through painful seasons, our minds try to label us based on the experience. We hear whispers that say, you are broken, you are unworthy, you are damaged goods, you will never recover. But those are lies. Your identity is not in the struggle. Your identity is not in the failure. Your identity is not in the heartbreak. Your identity is rooted in who God says you are. And He calls you chosen. He calls you redeemed. He calls you more than a conqueror. If He says you are victorious, then no breaking can make you defeated. Think about how a diamond is formed. It starts as coal, dark and ordinary. But deep under the earth, it is put under incredible heat and crushing pressure. That breaking down process does not destroy it, it transforms it. Without the crushing, there would be no diamond. Without the refining, there would be no beauty. In the same way, you may feel like life has put you through the fire and under pressure, but that process is not to leave you broken. It's to bring out the brilliance God placed inside you from the very beginning. What happened to you was not meant to define your story as tragedy. It was meant to refine your spirit, strengthen your faith, and prepare you for greater purpose. You are not the sum of your broken moments. You are the product of God's refining work in you. When you were rejected, it refined your resilience. When you were betrayed, it refined your discernment. When you lost, it refined your gratitude. Every moment of breaking carried within it seeds of wisdom, strength, and maturity that are now shaping the future God has in store for you. Sometimes we confuse breaking with ending, but the truth is breaking can be the very beginning of something new. A seed must break open in the soil before it grows into a tree. A caterpillar must break out of the cocoon before it becomes a butterfly. And bread must be broken before it can feed the hungry. In the same way, your breaking was not the end. It was a signal that something new was being birthed. The breaking was not the finish line, it was the preparation ground for your destiny. Think of Joseph, who was thrown into a pit by his own brothers, sold as a slave, and falsely imprisoned. At every stage, it seemed like he was being broken, stripped of dignity, stripped of family, stripped of freedom. But those seasons did not define him as a victim. They refined him into a leader. When the time was right, the very things that once looked like setbacks positioned him for the palace. If Joseph had never been broken, he would have never been prepared for the crown. The same is true for you. That heartbreak did not define you. It refined you to know your worth. That failure did not define you. It refined you to build with wisdom. That loss did not define you. It refined you to treasure what truly matters. When you look back, you may see scars, but those scars are proof that you didn't just go through the fire. You came out stronger, purer, and more resilient than ever. Maybe right now you feel like you're still in the middle of that breaking season. The tears seem endless, the nights feel long, and you wonder if you'll ever come out on the other side. Let this be your encouragement. The fire is not permanent, the storm is not forever, and the breaking is not final. God is at work even in the crushing. He is refining your character, sharpening your vision, and preparing you for doors you could not handle before. If you were never broken, you would not be equipped for the greater He has prepared for you. You are not who you were when the breaking happened. You've grown, you've learned, you've healed. And even if you are still healing, every step forward is proof that what tried to break you has already lost its power. You are walking into a refined version of yourself, wiser, stronger, and more resilient. Don't let the enemy convince you that your identity is tied to what broke you. Your true identity is revealed in how you rose, how you endured, how you kept believing when everything told you to give up. What you went through is not wasted. Every sleepless night, every tear, every moment of wondering why, it is all part of the refining process that is shaping you for the greater ahead. The pain will not be the headline of your life, the triumph will. The loss will not be your legacy, the strength will. One day you'll look back and say, if it had not been for that breaking season, I wouldn't be who I am today. So hold your head high. Refuse to carry labels of brokenness. Refuse to accept the lie that your story is over. You are not defined by the breaking. You are defined by the one who is refining you through it. And when the refining is complete, you will shine with a brilliance that could only come through the fire. What broke you will not define you. It will refine you, and that refining is ushering you into the greater purpose, greater joy, and greater victory that has been waiting for you all along. There are seasons in life when it feels like you are walking through the deepest valleys. The shadows seem darker than ever. The path feels uncertain, and you wonder if you will ever see the light again. And maybe it's the valley of loss, where someone you loved is no longer with you. Maybe it's the valley of disappointment, where doors that you prayed would open have shut right in front of you. Or maybe it's the valley of loneliness, where you feel unseen, unheard, and forgotten. In those moments, the valley feels endless. But what you must understand is that your deepest valley is not your final destination. It is preparation for your highest mountain. Every valley season is a training ground. It may not feel like it, but it is equipping you with strength, endurance, and wisdom for the heights God is leading you toward. You don't climb a mountain by accident. You need strength, stamina, and resilience. And those qualities are not built on the mountaintop. They are developed in the valley. The struggles you face now are not wasted. They are conditioning you for greater heights. Think about David in the scriptures. Before he was ever king, before he ever stood in front of Goliath, he spent time in the valley tending sheep. It was there in the quiet fields that he learned courage, skill, and dependence on God. The valley was not glamorous, but it was essential. Without the valley, David would not have had the strength or confidence to face the giant. Without the valley, he would not have been prepared for the crown. The same is true for you. Your valley season may not look like progress, but it is essential preparation for the heights you will one day stand upon. The valley is where roots grow deep. In the mountaintop seasons, it's easy to celebrate and enjoy the view, but it's in the valley that faith is tested, character is refined, and endurance is built. When you are walking through a valley, you have two choices: to give in to despair or to let the valley drive your roots deeper into God's promises. The valley teaches you to trust when nothing makes sense. It teaches you to hold on when everything tells you to give up. It teaches you to lean on God's strength when your own has run out. We often think that valleys are setbacks, but they are setups. You may not see it now, but God is using the valley to prepare you for the mountain. The tears you cry in the valley water, the seeds of strength you will need for the heights. The prayers you pray in the valley will echo on the mountaintop. The lessons you learn in the valley will sustain you when the elevation gets steep. The valley is not wasted. It is working for your good. There are some things you can only learn in the valley. Patience is built there. Compassion is refined there. Endurance is forged there. You don't develop the strength to carry the weight of the mountain unless you first carry the weight of the valley. If life was always a mountaintop, you would never develop the character necessary to sustain the blessing. The valley is where God molds you, shapes you, and prepares you so that when you reach the top, you are not only ready to stand there, you are ready to stay there. Consider Joseph, betrayed by his brothers and thrown into a pit, sold into slavery and unjustly imprisoned. That was his valley. It seemed like everything was against him. But in reality, that valley was preparing him for his highest mountain, the palace. The skills he learned in managing Potiphar's house, the patience he gained in prison, the trust he developed in God's timing, all of it prepared him for the day he would oversee the entire nation of Egypt. His deepest valley became the launching pad to his highest mountain. Your valley may be painful, but it is purposeful. What feels like delay is actually development. What feels like a setback is a setup for something greater. What feels like isolation is actually consecration. God setting you apart for something you cannot yet see. The valley is not a punishment. It is preparation. You are not stuck. You are not stuck. You are being shaped. Don't despise the valley seasons. One day, when you stand on your highest mountain, you'll look back and see how every tear, every prayer, every lonely night was preparing you for that very moment. You'll realize that if it had not been for the valley, you would not have had the strength to climb the mountain. The valley may have felt like your lowest point, but it was really the foundation of your highest point. Right now, you may not understand why you are in this valley, but take heart. The same God who walks with you in the shadows will lead you to the summit. The valley is temporary, but the mountain is coming. And when you stand on that mountain, the view will be clearer, the air will be fresher, and the victory will be sweeter because of what you endured to get there. So keep walking, keep believing, keep holding on. Your deepest valley is not wasted time, it is sacred preparation. One day you'll see that the valley wasn't just a place of pain. It was the very ground where God equipped you for your highest mountain. There are times in life when it feels like everything around you is pressing in. The weight is heavy, the pressure is intense, and you wonder if you'll ever come out the same again. It's what we call a crushing season. You didn't plan for it, you didn't expect it, but suddenly life has you in a place where you feel broken, overwhelmed, and stretched beyond your limit. You might be asking, why am I going through this? Why does it feel like I'm being crushed from every side? But what if I told you that the crush is not meant to destroy you? It's meant to transform you. Every crushing season is God pressing out the best version of you. Think of the grape. By itself, it's a simple fruit. But when it is crushed, something far more valuable flows out, wine. The crushing doesn't diminish the grape, it multiplies its worth. The same is true for olives. When they are pressed, oil is released, oil that heals, anoints, and blesses. Without the pressing, the oil stays hidden. Without the crushing, the wine never flows. And in your life, the seasons that feel the heaviest are often the very seasons God is using to bring out of you something greater than what was there before. When you are crushed, you discover strength you never knew you had. You find faith you didn't realize was buried deep inside you. You develop patience, endurance, and resilience that cannot be gained in easy seasons. The crushing reveals what was always in you, but hidden beneath the surface. That's why you can look back at the hardest times of your life and realize they made you stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. The crushing pressed out a version of you that could not have been formed any other way. The crushing seasons also teach you dependence. When everything is going well, it's easy to rely on your own ability, your own strength, your own wisdom. But in the crushing, you run out of yourself. You realize you can't do it on your own. You fall to your knees and discover that God's strength is perfected in your weakness. You learn that His grace is sufficient and that His power carries you when you cannot carry yourself. Without the crushing, you would not experience that level of intimacy with Him. Look at Joseph's life. Betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, imprisoned unjustly. His journey was one crushing season after another. Yet through it all, God was pressing out the best version of Joseph. Those difficult seasons taught him humility, patience, and leadership. They shaped him into the man who would one day rule Egypt and save a nation. Without the crushing, Joseph would not have been prepared for the palace. What seemed like pain was actually preparation. What seemed like rejection was redirection. The crushing season was the very thing that positioned him for greatness. And think of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. The very name Gethsemane means oil press. It was there under the greatest crushing of his life that he surrendered fully to the will of the Father. It was in that pressing that the greatest anointing was released, leading to the salvation of the world. If even the Son of God walked through a crushing season that released greater purpose, then we can trust that our crushing seasons too are not wasted. Maybe you're walking through a crushing season right now. You feel the weight of disappointment, the pressure of uncertainty, the achy of heartbreak. You wonder if you'll ever feel whole again. Let this be a reminder: the crushing is not permanent and it's not pointless. God is using this season to press something greater out of you. The version of yourself that will emerge will be stronger in faith, deeper in character, and richer in wisdom than ever before. Don't despise the crushing. Embrace it as a season of transformation. Know that it will not last forever. Just as the grape is only crushed for a time, your season of pressing will eventually give way to new life. And when you come out, you will carry something far more valuable than what you had before. You'll carry testimony, authority, and a deeper sense of purpose. Your crushing season is the birthplace of your calling. It's the training ground for your destiny. It's the place where the best version of you is uncovered. And one day, when you look back and you'll see that the very thing you thought was breaking you was actually building you, you'll realize that without the crushing, you wouldn't be who you are today. So hold on. Don't give up in the pressing. Don't lose faith in the crushing. God is not punishing you. He is preparing you. He is pressing out the fear so that faith can rise. He is pressing out the doubt so that confidence can shine. He is pressing out the old so that the new can emerge. You are not being destroyed. You are being transformed. Every crushing season is temporary, but the treasure it produces is eternal. Trust that God knows what He's doing in your life. Trust that the pressure has a purpose. And trust that when the crushing is complete, the best version of you will come forth, refined, strengthened, and ready to step into everything God has prepared. There are moments in life when the weight of pain feels unbearable, when tears fall so freely that you wonder if they will ever stop. You've prayed, you've cried, and you've asked God why the heartbreak, why the betrayal, why the disappointment. In those dark hours, it feels as though your tears are wasted, that your pain serves no purpose. But here is the truth: God wastes nothing. Every tear you have shed, every painful moment you have endured is being collected, and He is shaping it into something far greater than you can imagine. God will turn your tears into testimony and your pain into power. The tears you cry are not signs of weakness. They are evidence of a heart that still beats with hope. Every tear carries weight in the eyes of God. He sees them, He records them, and He promises that not one of them will be wasted. Those tears are watering seeds of faith, and in time, they will produce a harvest of testimony that others will hear and be strengthened by. The very tears that seem to mark your darkest nights will one day flow into rivers of joy. Pain often feels like an enemy, like something sent to rob you of joy and peace. But when surrendered to God, pain becomes a teacher, a refiner, a builder of strength. Pain exposes your deepest vulnerabilities, yet it also introduces you to the deepest comfort of God. It shows you how human you are, but more importantly, it shows you how faithful He is. Without pain, you would not know the sweetness of His healing. Without trials, you would not know the power of His deliverance. What you thought would crush you will actually carry you into a new level of strength and authority. Your tears and your pain are shaping the testimony that will bless others. Think of the countless people in the world who feel alone in their struggles. When you rise from your valley and share how God sustained you, your testimony becomes their hope. Your story becomes a light in someone else's darkness. The tears you shed in private will one day be the very evidence of God's power you declare in public. Your pain has purpose because it will give power to your voice. Consider Job. He lost everything: his wealth, his family, his health. His tears were many, his pain immeasurable. Yet in the end, God restored him with double what he had before. His story became a testimony that has encouraged countless lives through generations. Job's pain became the platform for a demonstration of God's faithfulness, and his tears became a testimony of endurance and restoration. Think also of Hannah. She wept bitterly because she was unable to have children. Her tears filled the temple floor as she cried out for God to remember her. Those tears were not ignored. God gave her Samuel, who grew into one of the greatest prophets of Israel. The tears she shed in agony became the testimony of God's answered prayer. And her pain gave birth not only to her joy, but to a legacy that blessed a nation. And let us never forget Jesus. On the cross, he endured unimaginable pain. His tears fell as he bore the weight of humanity's sin. Yet that pain became the greatest power in history, the power of salvation. His suffering became our healing. His agony became our victory. That is the pattern of God. He takes what seems unbearable and transforms it into unimaginable glory. Your own story is following that same pattern. The heartbreak that once left you broken will become the testimony of how God healed your heart. The season of loneliness will become the testimony of how God never left your side. The pain of rejection will become the power of knowing that you are chosen, loved, and accepted by the one who matters most. The very things that once made you cry will be the reasons you shout for joy in the future. It's easy to look at your pain and see only loss, but God sees transformation. He sees the greater strength you're gaining, the deeper compassion being birthed, and the testimony that will inspire others. He is not just delivering you for your own sake. He is delivering you so you can carry a message of hope to those who need it most. Your tears will give you credibility, your scars will give you authority, and your pain will give you the power to speak life into someone else's struggle. So don't despise the tears. Don't resent the pain. Trust that God is at work in the unseen. Even now, he is shaping your story. He is turning weeping into joy, mourning into dancing, ashes into beauty. You may not see it today, but you will one day look back and realize that the tears you thought would drown you were actually watering the soil of your destiny. There will come a day when you will stand tall and say, "If it had not been for the Lord, I wouldn't have made it." And those words will carry power because they are born out of lived experience. You will testify of how God carried you, how he comforted you, how he gave you strength you didn't know you had. And that testimony will not only remind you of his faithfulness, it will ignite faith in everyone who hears it. Your pain is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of your purpose. Your tears are not wasted. They are investments into the future joy God has prepared for you. What you thought would break you will make you. What you thought would silence you will give you a stronger voice. And what you thought was your greatest weeks will become your greatest strength. God is turning your tears into testimony and your pain into power, and your life will be proof that nothing surrendered to him is ever wasted. Rejection is one of the hardest experiences we face in life. When someone you cared for turns away, when opportunities you prayed for shut their doors, when the very place you thought you belonged pushes you out, it stings deep. You begin to question yourself, wondering if you're good enough, if you're worthy, if something is wrong with you. But here's the truth you need to hold on to. The rejection you faced was never meant to diminish you. It was meant to direct you. What you thought was the end of your story was really God's way of moving you toward your destiny. The rejection you faced is the redirection to your destiny. Every closed door is not a curse. Every no is not a failure. Every departure is not a loss. Sometimes what looks like rejection on the surface is actually God's hand steering you away from where you were never meant to stay. That relationship that ended, that job that didn't work out, that circle of people that excluded you. It wasn't the final word over your life. It was God saying, I have something better. I have something greater. I am removing what doesn't fit your future so I can make room for what does. Rejection has a way of feeling final. It makes you think you're less than unworthy or forgotten. But when you shift your perspective, you begin to see that rejection is not a wall, it's a signpost. It's not blocking you, it's pointing you in the right direction. Sometimes you can't see the full picture while you're in it. But later, when you look back, you realize that what felt like rejection was actually God's protection. He saw what you couldn't see. He knew the pain that path would bring, the limits it would place on you, the opportunities it would rob from you, so he allowed the door to close because your destiny required a different path. Look at Joseph's story. He faced rejection in the most painful way by his own brothers. They despised him, plotted against him, and sold him into slavery. If anyone had reason to feel unwanted, it was Joseph. Yet every rejection he endured was guiding him to the very place God needed him to be. The rejection from his family led him to Egypt. The rejection from Potiphar's household led him to prison. And the rejection from people in prison eventually positioned him before Pharaoh. Each rejection was not the end, it was redirection. And in the end, Joseph rose to a position where he could save countless lives, including the very brothers who once rejected him. Your story may not be as dramatic, but the principle is the same. That breakup you thought would destroy you is God redirecting you away from someone who could not walk with you into your destiny. That job you didn't get was God redirecting you to a calling bigger than a paycheck. That group that pushed you away was God redirecting you into circles where you would be celebrated, not just tolerated. Every rejection is a setup for a divine redirection. We often pray for God's will to be done in our lives, but we sometimes forget that His will may involve shutting doors we desperately wanted open. When you ask God to guide your steps, He may have guided you away from places you were never meant to stay. Rejection hurts, but also clears the way. It removes distractions. It prunes relationships. It eliminates detours. It makes sure you don't settle for less than what God intended. The pain of rejection also carries lessons. It teaches you to find your worth not in people's acceptance, but in God's affirmation. It teaches you resilience, reminding you that your value doesn't decrease just because someone else failed to see it. It teaches you to discern the difference between good opportunities and God opportunities. Without rejection, you might still be clinging to something that was never meant to last. With it, you are being pushed closer to your true purpose. Jesus Himself knew rejection. He was rejected by the very people He came to save. He was despised, misunderstood, and cast aside. Yet every rejection He endured was part of God's plan to redeem the world. His rejection on the cross became our acceptance into eternal life. If rejection was part of His path to destiny, why would we think ours would be different? If He could turn His rejection into the greatest victory of all time, He can surely turn ours into something meaningful and powerful. So instead of letting rejection make you bitter, let it make you better. Instead of asking, why did they leave me? Why didn't they choose me? Begin to declare, if it was for me, it would have stayed. If it was mine, it would not have left. If it shut down, God has something greater ahead. Refuse to see rejection as the end. Choose to see it as divine redirection. One day, you'll look back and realize that the rejection you thought would break you is actually the very thing that positioned you for breakthrough. You'll be able to say, if that door had never closed, I wouldn't be here. If they hadn't walked away, I wouldn't have grown. If I hadn't been rejected, I wouldn't have found my destiny. Your testimony will inspire others, and your story will prove that nothing can stop God's plan. So keep moving forward. Don't let rejection paralyze you. Don't let it define you. Let it redirect you. The rejection you faced was not wasted. It was God's way of ensuring you don't miss the destiny He has already written for your life. And when you step into that destiny, you'll see that every rejection was just a detour leading you straight into purpose. Sometimes in life, it feels like the weight of the world is pressing down on you. You've gone through seasons where people turned against you, where opportunities slipped out of your hands, and where it seemed like every door was slammed shut. Maybe the enemy whispered in your ear that it was over, that you'd never rise again, that your story was finished. But what you must understand is that what looked like a burial was never a burial at all. It was a planting, and there's a big difference. When something is buried, it's done. When something is planted, it's coming back stronger, bigger, and greater than before. The enemy thought he was ending you, but God was just beginning. He thought he was covering you up, but God was setting you up. You weren't buried in that disappointment. You were planted in it. You weren't buried in that heartbreak. You were planted in it. The soil may have been heavy, the darkness may have been overwhelming, but what the enemy didn't know is that seeds don't die in the dark, they grow in the dark. God uses the soil of your struggles to push you into a new season of growth. Think about it when a seed is placed in the ground, it disappears from view. It looks like it's been hidden, forgotten, and covered. But what's really happening is transformation. That seed is breaking open, roots are taking hold, and soon something new is going to break through the surface. That's exactly what God is doing in your life. You may feel hidden, overlooked, and surrounded by dirt. But the dirt is not your burial, it's your foundation. It's not there to suffocate you. It's there to stabilize you for what God is bringing forth. There are people who walked away from you thinking they buried your dreams. There are enemies who laughed, thinking they silenced your future. But they didn't know that God is the gardener. And when God plants you, He waters you, He nurtures you, and He ensures that in due season you will rise again. They may have counted you out, but God has already counted you in. They may have pushed you down, but God has already marked you to come up higher. What you've gone through has not been wasted. The tears, the losses, the rejections, they've all been part of the planting process. Without the soil, the seed cannot grow. Without the dark, there can be no sprouting. Without the pressure, there can be no breakthrough. The enemy thought he was pressing you down, but he was actually pressing you into position. He thought he was burying you under the weight of despair, but he was only covering you long enough for you to take root. And here's the beautiful part: when you rise, you won't just rise to where you were before. You'll rise higher. Seeds don't stay seeds. They become something greater. A tiny seed can become a towering tree. A small beginning can become a harvest that feeds many. God didn't allow that planting season to diminish you. He allowed it to multiply you. The next time you come up, it won't just be for survival. It will be for influence, for impact, for overflow. You see, if you had never been planted, you would have never discovered what God placed inside of you. It's in the soil, in the hidden places where potential is unlocked. It's in the silence when no one is watching, where God is forming greatness. The crushing, the breaking, the loneliness, it's not the end, it's the preparation. It's the process that turns a seed into a harvest, a trial into a triumph, a test into a testimony. So don't curse the soil. Don't despise the season that covered you. Because one day soon, the same people who thought it was over for you will look again and see fruit on your branches. They'll wonder how you survived what you went through, how you came back after what tried to destroy you, how you grew in places they thought would kill you. And your answer will be simple: what was meant to bury me was really planning me, and God brought me back stronger than ever. Maybe right now you feel like you're still underground, still waiting, still unseen. Don't lose heart. Just because you don't see progress doesn't mean growth isn't happening. Just because you feel stuck doesn't mean you aren't stretching. God has already scheduled your breakthrough. The same God who allowed you to go into the soil is the same God who will bring you out of it. And when He brings you out, you won't look like what you've been through. You'll come out flourishing, thriving, and bearing fruit for His glory. Remember this: the enemy doesn't have the final say. God does. The dirt wasn't meant to bury you. It was meant to grow you. You may have been overlooked by people, but you were never overlooked by God. He saw you in the dark. He knew what was happening under the surface, and He's about to reveal you to the world in a way that will silence every doubt, every critic, and every attack. So stand firm. Keep the faith. Trust the process. What the enemy thought was the end is just the beginning of something greater. You were not buried, you were planted. And the harvest coming from your life will be so great that everyone will know it could only have been God. There are moments in life when it feels like the weight of the world is pressing against you from every side. The pressure is so intense that you wonder if you'll make it out, if you'll survive another day, if you'll ever see light again. It feels like everything is collapsing, like you're being crushed by disappointment, heartbreak, betrayal, or loss. But let me remind you today, the crushing did not come to destroy you, it came to crown you. What you thought was meant to break you is actually the very thing God is using to shape you for greatness. The crushing is not punishment, it is preparation. Grapes have to be crushed before they can become wine. Olives have to be pressed before they release their oil. Diamonds are formed under intense pressure. None of these transformations happen in comfort, they happen in crushing. And just like that, your life may have gone through seasons of intense pressure, seasons where you felt squeezed, overlooked, broken down. But God was never trying to destroy you. He was preparing you for your crown. When you think about it, the crushing seasons are some of the most defining seasons of your life. It's in those moments of pain that you learn resilience. It's in the pressure that your faith is refined. It's in the silence of being misunderstood, rejected, or betrayed that you discover who you are in God. Without the crushing, you would never know the strength that's inside of you. Without the pressure, you wouldn't tap into the anointing that only comes through pain. The crown is reserved for those who endure the crushing and refuse to give up. Sometimes, the very things that felt like they were against you are the things that are actually for you. That loss, that rejection, that disappointment. It wasn't the enemy taking you out. It was God setting you up. If you hadn't gone through the crushing, you wouldn't have the compassion you have today. If you hadn't been pressed, you wouldn't have the wisdom you carry now. If you hadn't been broken, you wouldn't have the authority to speak life into someone else who is walking through the same valley. The crushing doesn't diminish you, it elevates you. The enemy may have whispered in your ear, "This is the end. You'll never recover, you'll never rise again." But what he didn't know is that the crushing was the path to your crowning. What looked like defeat was actually divine preparation. What felt like loss was actually God making room for greater gain. That closed door was not rejection, it was redirection. That heartbreak was not the end of love. It was God making space for a deeper, more purposeful connection. The crushing was never meant to end your story. It was meant to give you a greater story to tell. Think about the crown itself. A crown represents authority, honor, and victory. But crowns are not given cheaply, they're earned. They're placed on the heads of those who have fought battles, endured hardships, and overcome trials. The crown is not handed to someone who has never faced resistance. It's given to the one who pressed through the pain, who stayed faithful under pressure, who trusted God when it didn't make sense. That's why your crushing season was so important. It was proof of your endurance, your faith, your determination. And because you didn't quit in the crushing, God is preparing to crown you. Every time you kept going when you wanted to quit, God was taking note. Every tear you cried in the midnight hour was not wasted. It was watering the soil of your future. Every betrayal, every heartbreak, every time you were misunderstood, it was all part of the crushing. But none of it was wasted because God is a master at turning crushing into crowning. He will not leave you in the press. He will not allow you to stay under the weight forever. There is a season where the crushing ends and the crowning begins. And here's the beauty: the crown that God places on you is not just for decoration, it's for demonstration. It's a sign to the world that what tried to break you only made you stronger. It's a reminder that what was meant to destroy you was used to define you. Your crown will carry your story. When people see the strength, the grace, the peace, and the favor on your life, they'll know it wasn't easy. They'll know there was a crushing. But they'll also see that the crushing didn't destroy you, it crowned you. So if you find yourself in the middle of pressure today, don't lose hope. Don't misinterpret the season. Just because you're being crushed doesn't mean you're being defeated. It means you're being prepared. The crown is on its way. The same God who allowed the crushing will also release the crowning. The same God who let you feel the weight will lift you into honor. The same God who let you be pressed will place on you a crown that no one can take away. One day soon you'll look back and realize the crushing was the greatest blessing of your life. It taught you who God is. It revealed what's inside of you. It positioned you for the crown that was always meant for you. And when you wear that crown, you'll realize that every tear, every loss, every painful night was worth it. Because the crushing did not destroy you, it crowned you. There are moments in life when you feel like you've been buried under the weight of disappointment, heartbreak, or failure. It's as if the ground has closed in on you and you're left in darkness wondering if you'll ever rise again. People walked away. Opportunities slipped through your hands. Dreams you once carried now look like ashes scattered in the wind. You look around and all you see is the grave of what could have been. But let me remind you today, what once looked like a grave will become your stage. The place where you thought it ended is the very place where God is going to display His glory in your life. The enemy thought he buried you, but God knew He was planting you. The grave is not your final destination. It's the platform for your comeback. You may feel hidden right now, covered by pain and unseen by others, but God hasn't forgotten you. In fact, He's preparing you. Just as a seed must be buried before it can sprout, your burial season is simply the beginning of your blooming season. You are not buried in defeat. You are planted in destiny. Think about the grave. In the natural, it represents the end. It's where people say goodbye. It's where the story is finished. But in God's kingdom, graves are not endings, they're transitions. When Jesus was laid in the tomb, the world thought it was over. The stone was rolled in front. The guards stood watch and the enemy celebrated. But what looked like a grave became the greatest stage of all time. On the third day, the stone rolled away, and what was meant to silence Him became the very proof of His victory. The grave became the stage that declared resurrection. That same God is at work in your life today. You may have a dream that looks dead, a relationship that feels like it's over, a future that seems buried, but don't count yourself out yet. God specializes in turning graves into stages. He takes the very things that look like endings and uses them as platforms to show His power. The job loss that looked like a grave can become the stage for a new career you never imagined. The heartbreak that felt like it buried you can become the stage for a testimony of healing and restoration. The rejection that crushed you can become the stage for God's redirection into your destiny. Sometimes God allows you to go through the grave season because He knows the stage requires strength. If you were never buried, you would never grow the roots needed to stand tall when you rise. If you never walked through the darkness, you would never value the light when it comes. The grave season is not wasted. It's shaping you, refining you, and preparing you to stand boldly when God puts you on display. It's easy to look at your life and think, I've been forgotten, my time has passed, my dreams are gone. But just because you're hidden doesn't mean you're forgotten. God does His best work in hidden places. He forms greatness in the dark before He reveals it in the light. Just as a stage is built before the curtain rises, God is building something behind the scenes in your life. You may not see it yet, but the stage is being set. When the curtain opens, the very place you thought was your grave will be where God shows the world His glory through you. There are people who walked away thinking your story was over. There are voices that counted you out, convinced you'd never recover, never rise again. But they will have to watch as God takes the very ground of your pain and turns it into the platform of your purpose. They thought they buried you, but soon they'll see you standing where you once lay, testifying of the goodness and faithfulness of God. And here's the beauty: when God turns your grave into your stage, it's not just about you, it's about everyone watching. Your story becomes hope for someone else. Your victory becomes a reminder that if God did it for you, He can do it for them. Your stage becomes a testimony that graves don't hold God's people down, they set them up for resurrection. So don't despise the grave. Don't be discouraged by the dirt. What you thought was an ending is simply a beginning. The grave is the womb of your next season. The soil that covered you is producing the roots of strength, character, and faith that you'll need for the stage God is preparing. You are not finished. You are not forgotten. You are being positioned for something greater than you can imagine. One day soon, the same place where you wept will be the place where you rejoice. The same place where you thought you lost everything will be the place where you testify of God's restoration. The same place where you were overlooked will be the place where God showcases His favor on your life. What once looked like a grave will become your stage, and when the spotlight shines, all the glory will go to the one who brought you from the darkness into the light. Keep standing, keep believing, keep trusting, because the grave is not your end. It is your stage in the making. And when God raises you up, no enemy, no betrayal, no loss, and no disappointment will be able to stop the testimony that your life will carry. There are seasons in life where it feels like everything has been stripped away. People walked out, opportunities slipped through your hands, and doors you thought would open stayed shut. Maybe you've been through a time where you were knocked down so hard that even getting back up felt impossible. The enemy whispered that it was over, that you had gone too far, that you would never rise again. But God says otherwise. What looks like defeat to the enemy is only a setup for your greatest comeback. And your comeback will be so great that even your enemies will witness your crowning. When God restores, He doesn't bring you back to where you were. He takes you further. When He raises you, it's not just for you to quietly survive. It's for you to shine in such a way that everyone who doubted you, everyone who mocked you, everyone who thought you were finished will have no choice but to see the hand of God on your life. Your crown will not be hidden. It will be placed right where the world can see it, not to glorify you, but to glorify the God who brought you through. The truth is, your setbacks have been the foundation for your comeback. Every tear, every betrayal, every sleepless night, it was not wasted. God was using it all to position you for something greater. The very people who celebrated your downfall will one day have to watch your rising. Not because you seek revenge, not because you want to prove them wrong, but because God is a God of vindication. He prepares a table before you in the presence of your enemies. He doesn't crown you in private. He crowns you in public so that everyone knows it was His doing. Your enemies may have thought they had the final word, but God always writes the last chapter. They may have said you'd never get back on your feet. They may have laughed when you were at your lowest. They may have walked away when you needed them most. But one thing they didn't realize is that when God is for you, no one can stand against you. Your comeback is not dependent on their approval. It's anchored in God's promise. When you rise again, and you will, it won't just be to the level you once knew. God doesn't restore to the same measure. He multiplies. Job lost everything, but when his comeback came, it was double what he had before. Joseph was betrayed by his brothers and thrown into a pit, but when his comeback came, he was crowned in the palace, and those same brothers had to bow before him. That's the kind of God you serve, the kind who takes your lowest valley and uses it as the stepping stone to your highest mountain. And notice this, your comeback will not be hidden in the shadows. It will be visible. Those who left you, those who counted you out, those who turned their backs, they will have to watch as God elevates you. Not because you want to boast, but because God delights in showing His power. He will make your life a living testimony. You won't even have to explain yourself. Your crown will speak louder than your words. Maybe you feel like you're still in the middle of the setback, still buried in the ashes. Don't let the current chapter fool you. God has already written your comeback story. The pain you're facing is only temporary, but the glory that's coming will be permanent. The humiliation you endured will be replaced with honor. The shame you carried will be exchanged for a crown of victory. What you thought was the end is actually the beginning of something greater. And when that crown is placed on your life, it won't just be a symbol of survival. It will be a sign of triumph. It will declare that nothing can stop the plans of God. It will testify that the attacks of the enemy were not enough to keep you down. It will remind everyone who sees you that the God you serve is faithful, powerful, and sovereign. Your enemies won't be able to deny it. They may not like it, but they won't be able to ignore it. So don't despair in the season of loss. Don't give up in the season of silence. The crown is coming. The comeback is being prepared. God has been working behind the scenes, setting things in order, arranging the pieces, and when it all comes together, it will be bigger than you ever dreamed. The very people who questioned your worth will have to witness your value. The very ones who left you behind will have to see you crowned. Hold on to faith. Keep walking even if the steps are heavy. Keep believing even when it doesn't make sense. Your story is not ending in defeat. It's rising into victory. The same God who allowed the setback will bring about the comeback. And when He does, no enemy, no critic, no betrayer, and no circumstance will be able to stop your crowning. What once looked like the end will become the testimony that defines you. What once felt like shame will become the stage for your glory. Your crown is coming, and when it rests upon your life, the world will see that the crushing didn't destroy you, the rejection didn't define you, and the loss didn't limit you. Your comeback will be so great that even your enemies will witness your crowning. And they will know that it was God all along.